Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer, Gamer 55551, and I am back with a my 2 cent Nintendo slash gaming video for this week, for the week of September 20th to the 26th, and we got 5 stories to cover, including 2 big surprises that kind of surprised, or should I say surprised people, such as Amazon announcing their new gaming service called Luna, and out of nowhere Microsoft buying Bethesda, which makes you kind of wonder if that purchase may have been a contributing factor to maybe people buying the Xbox X or Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S, though. We also have a report on Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which seems to be doing very well, both in the UK and also at the same time in Japan, though. But also at the same time, we're learning about how some people are still frustrated, especially with Mario Sunshine, to an issue that there may have been some of the bugs still may have been in Mario All-Stars and all. We also have a report on the Joy-Con situation, where Nintendo is again being sued over the issue of Joy-Con drifting, and some new information about Monster Hunter Rise and what Switch owners can expect when that game comes out. But before we get started, though, we'll do what's called a quick My 2 Cent, a rundown of some of the stories that basically caught my attention, but didn't get this. But I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one is a report that Fangamer is going to release a plush toy from Conker's Bad Fur Day, which when you push it, though, it basically says a certain line like why you quit touching me or something like that. It kind of comes off like that episode of South Park where they had that one doll called Stop Touching Me Elmo, which was just weird and all that stuff. Either way, the pre-orders are open now for if you're interested in that plush toy or anything like that. We also learned that a parkour AAA game, Ghost Runner, is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it is something I'm willing to at least keep an eye out for that. We also learned that Bravely Default 2 has now been rated in Australia, which hopefully this is a sign that we will get an official launch date for that game. Though I played the demo, I like the demo and all that stuff, but I would like to see an actual release date and when Bravely Default 2 is going to come out. We also learned that Mass Effect Trilogy might be happening, that the remaster might be called the Legendary Edition, and so far there's currently no plans to bring it to the Nintendo Switch at this time, though, which assuming this information is true, while that may sound a bit disappointing, though, I'm not entirely surprised by this, given EA's, quote, great partnership that they have with Nintendo and all that stuff. So it would be unfortunate, though, because I think a series like that would fit well on the Switch with the whole console handheld hybrid, especially when you see a lot of these epic games like Witcher 3, Dragon Dogma, Breath of the Wild, and the upcoming sequel to Breath of the Wild, though. I just think it's a missed opportunity, but this is EA we're talking about, and unfortunately, though, it's just really sad that EA is not putting as much effort into the Switch, because I think some of their IPs could technically work, even though they're bringing some games over and all that stuff. But at least if this report is true, there's currently no plans to bring it to the Nintendo Switch, which, while unfortunate, though, isn't really that shocking to me. We also learned that apparently Microsoft is happy with the pre-order records for the Xbox Series X and X, though, and that more stock would be arriving at launch, though, although some people have had issues claiming that the situation was a mess, though. My take on it is that I think that it was somewhat better than the PS5 situation was. I'm not saying it was 100% perfect. It isn't, though, but it was certainly somewhat better. I was able to get a pre-order down at my local GameStop. I picked up an Xbox Series S, since that was the one that I was aiming for, and I feel as though you had a better chance of getting the Xbox Series S than you did with the Xbox Series X, though. And last but not least, we learned, and then this is a non-gaming one, we learned that basically the traffic for the trailer for Disney Plus and Marvel's WandaVision apparently did very well, as a lot of people saw this when this trailer premiered post the Emmys and all that stuff. Now, I've seen the trailer and all, and it looks weird, but also interesting at the same time, and I'm looking forward to seeing that when that comes on the Disney Plus. I'm a big fan of the MCU. We don't have a release date yet, unlike what we had with The Mandalorian, which is set for October 30th, though, so hopefully we'll get a release date soon. But if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out and come to your conclusion whether it's worth watching on Disney Plus or not. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Monster Hunter Rise. Now, last week Nintendo had their mini direct or partnership direct presentation, and honestly, I would say their mini direct was actually probably the best one out of the other two that they did. You know, the direct minis and all that stuff. And there were some pretty interesting announcements that were made, though. You know, Disguise 6 being a Switch exclusive, Sniper Elite 4 actually coming to the Nintendo Switch. But I think for a lot of people, the big one was the announcement of not only one, but two Monster Hunter games. And that is Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is a sequel to the one released back on the Nintendo 3DS, and Monster Hunter Rise, a brand new entry in the series, supposedly being exclusive for the Switch. We don't know if it'll come to other systems, but for now, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. And some more information came out, though. Although this one was picked up, although someone by the name of Aulx Gaming did an interview with Capcom, there's a quick cliff notes that was posted on Nintendo Everything, though, and here are some of the interesting cliff notes that came out of it. Let me see if we can get that article. Okay, so according to what the roundup from an interview that the person Aulx Gaming did with when they spoke with Capcom, basically the roundup comes at this. Built upon the seamless exploration of Monster Hunter World, although it's not, from what I understand, it's not open world, but there will be exploration in the game. Players and monsters can move between areas without loading screens, which is kind of nice. More creatures will be shown in the coming month. One of the game's feature is broad variety of monster types. Free content after launch, which is certainly good. That was one of the main reasons people praised Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, because of a lot of the free content update. Although they did have paid expansions, still it is very nice that they're offering free content after launch. Using the Resident Evil engine reconfirmed, target 30 frames per second, traditional but fresh Monster Hunter experience. Retains all the DNA of Monster Hunter series, not consider a derived or spin-off title. The Monster Hunter team is more interested in naming the product in a way that represents what they have to offer. The game is still scheduled to come out on March 26, 2021. So a lot of interesting stuff on here, though. The fact that there won't be loading screens, which is kind of nice. But the big one for me, though, is that they have confirmed that they are using the RE engine. That's right. The same Resident Evil engine that has been used in games like Resident Evil 7, the Resident Evil 2 remake of 2 and 3, and of course Devil May Cry 5, and the upcoming Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8. What we don't know about is if it backs up a rumor that came out that this was the Switch version of the Resident Evil engine, or if this is the actual Resident Evil engine. If this is the Resident Evil engine used with the games I've said, though, then it could, though I don't know if this will happen or anything like that, it could open the door to the possibility that we could see maybe a Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village could maybe one day make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. Although it is possible it could be just they design a Switch version of the Resident Evil engine, and there's always the possibility that Capcom could decide to do something like what they're doing with Monster Hunter Rise, release maybe like a Resident Evil Revelation 3, and design that for the Switch in mind, running on the Switch version of the Resident Evil engine. But overall, I will say a lot of interesting information. Some of it, like the targeted 30 frames per second, isn't really that surprising and all that. and all that. The confirmed that the Resident Evil engine is being used on the Switch is certainly interesting, and we'll see if we see other games running on the RE engine make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. But either way, it definitely looks like a very interesting game when it comes out on, let me get the release date, March 26, 2021, and we'll see how well that one does, along with Monster Hunter Stories 2 when that also comes out during the summer. So overall, very interesting info that has come out in regards of Monster Hunter Rise. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to the second part of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with Microsoft and some interesting announcements that have come out, including the big acquisition that they made. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be talking about Microsoft, and specifically also, but the big one we'll be talking about is their big acquisition that they made. So as far as going into the next generation goes, Microsoft, I will say, based on what I've seen so far, they've done, in my opinion, a better job than what they did with the Xbox One. But they've made some hiccups before. When they did a reveal trailer, it turned out to be that, or supposedly a gameplay reveal trailer, it turned out to be that the reveal was basically mostly just cutscenes, and that didn't sit very well with everyone. Even Microsoft had to admit they made a mistake on that. To Halo Infinite not being the launch title based on the backlash they got over the visuals and all that stuff. But I will say that they've somewhat done a better job with basically handling the Xbox Series S and X better than what they did with the Xbox One. And this week we saw some very interesting news that came out from Microsoft. Obviously, one of the things we saw was basically the 1 terabyte storage that they'll have for the Xbox Series X and X, which is going to cost like around $220, which for some people that's going to be insane, especially if you're getting an Xbox Series X or S and all that stuff. But it will also depend on how you approach the situation in terms of pre-ordering the system. I'm taking basically a layaway approach when it comes to it, though. But the biggest story that has come out so far has been the fact that out of nowhere, and some of us are kind of surprised by this, is the fact that Microsoft has purchased Bethesda. That's right, the studio known for doing multiple ports of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim to Dishonor, Evil Within, the Fallout series, including Fallout 76, which isn't loved by which not everyone loves, and all that stuff, and all that. So basically, this one kind of surprised some people, though. But anyway, in several articles, this one from Microsoft's own from its own website, written by Phil Spencer, it reads that, quote, Today is a special day as we welcome some of the most accomplished studios in the game industry to Xbox. We are thrilled to announce that Microsoft has entered into an agreement to acquire ZeniMax Media, partner company of Bethesda Software. As one of the largest, most critical acclaim privately held game developers and publishers in the world, Bethesda is an incredible, talented group of 2,300 people worldwide who make up some of the most accomplished creative studios in our industry. Across Bethesda Software, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dogs, and Roundhouse Studios. These are the team responsible for franchises like The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonor, Prey, Quake, obviously the upcoming Starfield, and many more. So this certainly caught a lot of people's attention on this, though, and it sort of brought in the question of, does that mean that Starfield's not coming to the PS5? Does that mean a lot of these games are not going to be making their way into other systems, maybe even the Nintendo Switch for that matter? Well, according to an article posted on The Verge, which then later posted a tweet by Jason Schreier, it reads that, quote, to answer the question everyone is asking, Phil Spencer tells Dinah Bass, Dinabass, that Xbox plans to honor the PS5 exclusivity committed to Deathloop, upcoming Deathloops, and Ghostwire Tokyo. Further Bethesda games will be on the Xbox, PC, and other consoles on a case-by-case basis. So in other words, it means is that it's kind of like what Disney did when they purchased Marvel, that they would honor existing contracts that were out there for the time being. Once those contracts expires, it all goes back to Disney and they do what they want to do with it. So it's basically sounds like they're going to do a similar approach. They'll honor existing contracts that have been signed before Microsoft purchased Bethesda and all, but going forward, they'll decide whether they'll put these games on another system or not, though. So my guess is, another way to say it is that when the Elder Scrolls 6 finally comes out, my guess is that you'll see it on Xbox Series S, X, Game Pass, and PC, most likely first, before eventually making their way over to something like the PS5 and all. So, and maybe the Nintendo Switch. I'm not 100% sure about that, but maybe, just maybe though. So I would say that's probably the most likely scenario that we're going to see Microsoft do with Bethesda. And it certainly sounds like Microsoft isn't done buying studios as they did with, Double Fine and Ninja Theory. In fact, when speaking to CNET, though, one of the Microsoft CEOs basically said, quote, "You can't wake up one day and say, let me build a game studio. The idea of having content is so we can reach larger communities. We're always looking for places where there is that community of purpose, mission, and culture and all that stuff." So, in other words, they will continue to consider buying new studios only when it makes sense. So, don't be surprised down the road if they buy another studio and so forth. In fact, there are rumors right now that they are considering buying Sega and all that. Although, as of right now, it doesn't seem to be that is happening. Who knows if that will happen and all that stuff. Although, if you're asking my personal opinion, and I know some will call this a fanboy comment or anything like that, I think Nintendo should be the one to buy Sega. But who knows? Whether it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So overall, very surprised, surprised by this announcement that they purchased Bethesda. And I think that it's possible that by them purchasing Bethesda, that may have had an impact on basically the pre-orders for Xbox Series S and X, which according to Microsoft did extremely well. And I think going forward, I could see a scenario where Bethesda games will be released on the Xbox Series S and X, and of course Game Pass first, before they possibly will make their way over to other systems. And when they do, don't be surprised if you see Xbox Game Studio as one of the logos and all that stuff. I mean, that's how I think they are more than likely are probably going to approach this. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our third part of our My True Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Super Mario 3D All-Stars, though. Now, after months and months of rumors, the game has finally come out, and it not only exists, but also has finally come out with the collection of 3 of the 3D Mario's games: Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. Now, I have been playing these games for a bit, though. I'll try to get to a review as soon as possible on it, though. And the games, in my view, are still classics, no matter what, though. I mean, yes, some of the mechanics are going to be viewed as dated by some folks out there, but I still think the games still hold up very well. And it seems as though that the game seems to be getting off to a good start. From what I understand, it's certainly doing well in Japan, and in the UK, it became the #1 game, at least for this week. In an article from Game Industry Biz, it says that, quote, "After 2 weeks at the top of the UK charts, the Avengers has been knocked down by another superhero, Mario, as Super Mario 3D All-Stars shoots straight to #1. Nintendo bundle features HD ports of Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy for the Switch. It's the third biggest game launch in the UK this year after Sony's The Last of Us Part 2 and another Nintendo staple, Animal Crossing New Horizon. According to the GFK, Super Mario 3D All-Stars is the fifth fastest selling Switch game ever in the UK after Pokemon Sword and Shield, Animal Crossing, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Super Mario Odyssey. It's also the 15th biggest Nintendo game launch of all time, sitting just behind Odyssey. Looking at all the physical games featured Mario that has launched in the UK, only Mario Kart Wii, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Odyssey were the biggest than 3D All-Stars. So, obviously, the game is off to a good start in the UK, which is certainly nice, which to me gives me an impression that once the NPD charts come out, there is a good chance, though, that we will see Super Mario 3D All-Stars out there, maybe as probably one in the top 20 best-selling games of September 2020. Now, whether it enters in at number 1 or not, who knows? So we'll have to wait and see about that. But it is nice to see the game is off to a good start. That being said, though, while some people are not particularly thrilled with this, particularly with Mario Sunshine. Now, Mario Sunshine, in my view, has often been viewed as sort of like the black sheep of the 3D Mario games. Kind of similar to how I feel Super Mario 3D World was. I know some will disagree with me on that, but I don't hate Super Mario 3D World by any chance, but coming from the high that was Mario Galaxy 2, this kind of felt like it was sort of a low. Plus, I felt like it was nothing more than an expansion of Super Mario 3D Land that was originally came out for the Nintendo 3DS. But anyway, not everyone was a fan of Sunshine. I still enjoy it. I still think it's a good game, just maybe not the height that it was with Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64 was. Well, not everyone seems to be happy with Mario Sunshine, as there have been some people posting on Twitter basically videos of what's been going on. Some people consider there are some bugs and glitches and all that stuff, although, to be fair, I do want to point out, based on my time with the game so far, I haven't ran into anything that has made the game crash or had me restart the game or anything like that, at least not yet. Though I can't speak for everybody, but some people may have ran into that. I don't know if maybe they have a bad version of it or not. But another thing we found out is that apparently, at least according to one person, they are discovering that some of 3D's All-Star players aren't happy with how there are visible debug code cubes in the Super Mario Sunshine, and one person's calling it an absolute sign of Nintendo being lazy. From an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, when Super Mario 3D All-Stars was leaked onto the internet earlier this week, data miners quickly discovered the game was running on emulators. As pointed out by Digital Foundry, there are a few side effects to this, and now seems another one has been discovered. According to the cutting room floor VI data miner Oatmeal Drone, they point out that they could see little debug cubes in a secret area in Super Mario Sunshine that are meant to be invisible, as noticed by Twitter user PJ Jiggies, Jiggles. They don't show up in the GameCube release, but are noticeably visible in an unofficial emulator. According to what this person says, it says, quote, in Super Mario 3D All-Stars, you could see the debug code in Super Mario Sunshine in the Secret of the Dirty Lake stage, which previously only showed up in an unofficial emulator of the game, like on Dolphin Emulator. They didn't show up at all in the GameCube original. The cutting room floor further explains what exactly these little cubes are. In the secret stage, there are gray debug cubes in which represents the path for the red, blue, and multicolored cube platforms that are normally invisible when using EFB. However, they become visible when players played in some version of the Dolphin emulator. The Mario Sunshine page on this website has also been updated to make mention of these 3D All-Stars. Presumably due to imperfect graphic emulators, these cubes were visible in Super Mario 3D All-Stars release of the game, though. And in a follow-up, this person also said that their original post was to be a fun fact rather than a chance to get mad at Nintendo, but said they understand why some players might be upset at this, as it's absolutely a sign of Nintendo being lazy with this collection. And here are some of the reactions from some people who saw the post, though. They said, quote, I played Sunshine on my Dolphin emulator before and saw this too. This collection is so beyond lazy. I don't think these gray debug cubes is a pretty thing, especially for a $60 collection. Nintendo literally had a CO quality, so they should be better than this. Hopefully it gets patched or whatever. However, there are some other fans who were willing to defend Nintendo, and they said, quote, I'm honestly shocked at how well Sunshine runs, considering how little time it was in development, though. I just played this level and never noticed it made the level way more bearable, though. So some people are upset about it, some people aren't. I haven't seen it, though, so I have to take a look at it myself, though. But I mean, is it something Nintendo is going to patch up? Probably at some point down the road. Hopefully they will address it, though. But I mean, if it's not causing crashes or anything like that, then I can't see what the big complaint about is, though. Again, I'm not a game developer, so who knows? Maybe they'll fix this. But we'll see, though. I mean, obviously, I assume Nintendo will try to fix this, though. And last but not least, it turns out to be that data miners shared some details about the emulators used in Super Mario 3D All-Stars. A person called Oatmeal Drone, which I mentioned, though, says, quote, interesting, Nintendo's GameCube Wii emulator appears to implemented more GameCubes and Wii GPU features that are needed. For example, Bouncy Box mainly used by Paper Mario games, Sea Freeze used in Mario Striker, EA Sports games, and more. The person also mentions that he's not saying these games are coming. This person also said that, quote, it seems like the NERD implemented a generic GameCube and Wii emulator that could run any game and then made specific build that targets Galaxy and Sunshine for SM3DSS. Perhaps a sign of more to come isn't guaranteed. We'll just have to wait and see. It says, quote, I certainly hope so, at least. So it is possible, though we don't know 100%, but it is possible that we could see more Wii or GameCube games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, whether they take the route of what Nintendo's doing with Super Mario 3D All-Stars or not, that remains to be seen. So overall, great that Super Mario 3D All-Stars is doing well. Some people are having issues with Mario Sunshine, possibly running into glitches or anything like that. Although, like I said earlier, I haven't run into anything like that so far. Sort of odd to see this debug code supposedly in Mario Sunshine, although I have to check it out for myself if I'm running into this problem or not. Excuse me. And the fact that there's a possibility we could see more Wii or Wii or GameCube games make an appearance, though. That's interesting, though, although nothing's confirmed, but it would be interesting to see more Wii and GameCube games come over to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with another issue regarding the Joy-Cons or Joy-Con drifting. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at another Joy-Con drifting issue. So ever since the Nintendo Switch has come out, though, one of the issues that has popped up with the Joy-Cons has been the issue known as Joy-Con drifting, when somehow there is a problem with the left analog stick on the Joy-Cons, though. Now, to be clear, though, I do want to say that I haven't really experienced any issues with the Joy-Cons, though, especially with my Nintendo Switch, ever since I got the Nintendo Switch back in 2017, though. That's not to say that I don't think the issue doesn't exist at all. I'm pretty sure it does exist, though, but I haven't really experienced anything like that, any Joy-Con drifting and all. Nevertheless, though, we've seen cases where people have complained about it, to even going to the point of basically filing supposedly a lawsuit over this, though. In an article from Game Industry Biz, it reads that another lawsuit is basically French consumer organization UFC CHOISIR announced that it's suing Nintendo for planning obscenity and anti-consumer practices. In November 2019, the non-profit organization has already issued a warning against the Joy-Con controller for Switch and their infamous drifting defect, which sees the controller registering movement even when the player is not actually moving the analog stick. Now, this group, UFC has decided to take action, as it has noted in a press release that while Nintendo is offering free repairs for the issue, it's not changed the way the controllers are manufacturing and still issuing Joy-Cons that have been defected. The French Association requires an expert analysis, which notes that while Nintendo has made modifications to the way its Switch controllers are conceived a few months ago, it did not fix a defect despite being aware of the issue. Having analysis several samples, UFC found out two flaws that may be causing an issue: a premature wear and tear of the electronic circuits, and an air tightness defect, which means a lot of infringement and dust can get inside the Joy-Cons. Though the nature of this failure has frequently it occurs for players, the limited lifespan of the product, and the manufacturer's INERTIA, despite being informed of the defects. These are all characteristics of planning obscenity practices at Nintendo, the organization said, though. Planned OBSOLESCENCE, apologize for not saying it correctly, is a strategy that sees a company make a product designed to break down so people have to buy replacements, though. The lawsuit has been filed in NANTERE, and UFC QE is calling for Nintendo to change the way Joy-Cons are manufactured once and for all. Joy-Con drifting issue has been plagued Nintendo almost since the Switch launch. The first official complaint wasn't made until July 2019, though through a class action lawsuit was filed against Nintendo of America. A few days later, Nintendo started offering free repairs for the issue, and an offer that still stands as of time of writing. In September 2019, the Switch Lite was added to the Joy-Con drifting class action lawsuit just a week after its launch. Earlier this year, a Washington court denies Nintendo's move to dismiss the class action lawsuit, but referred to arbitration. So it seems as though that obviously the Joy-Con drifting issue is not going to go away anytime soon, and assuming, again, like I said, I haven't experienced any Joy-Con drifting, but I can't speak for everybody, though, and I'm sure there are people who have. And I really hope going forward, though, that Nintendo, especially if we're going to see like a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 or the next evolution of a Switch, if that happens, which I suspect it will, since I believe Nintendo will stick with the Switch design for a while, I do hope going forward that Nintendo really addresses the Joy-Con drifting issue, that they really do take a look at this and do what they can to try to make sure that they don't run into this problem again, because it's going to get to a point where if people start seeing it again, they're going to sue them and they're going to lose money out of this. So I really hope that Nintendo is seriously addressing this issue. So overall, it doesn't look like the Joy-Con drifting issue is going to be going away anytime soon. It looks like another legal headache for Nintendo over this, and I do hope going forward, especially when the next iteration of the Nintendo Switch happens, though, that Nintendo does a better job addressing the issue of Joy-Con drifting. Again, I haven't ran into any issue of Joy-Con drifting, but I can't speak for everyone, and I won't deny the fact that the issue probably more than likely does exist and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fifth and final story, and this one has to do with the surprise announcement of the new streaming service that Amazon's launching called Amazon Luna. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fifth and final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the surprise announcement that happened. That is Amazon announcing their new gaming streaming service called Luna. Now, this year we've been seeing a lot of push for the cloud streaming or game streaming service, though. Last year we saw the launch of Google Stadia, which, looking back at it, didn't exactly get off to the best of starts and anything like that. And given Google's reputation, though, some people are still not sold on it, though. I've tried Google Stadia, though, and I don't think it's as bad as the internet makes it sound like it is, but I won't say it's 100% perfect, and Google is going to have to step it up and do a better job with the service if they want Stadia to be sort of a success too. And we also saw NVIDIA launch NVIDIA GeForce Now, a service that, again, not bad or anything like that, but one of the issues we see is that some games leave the service and that you can't play them or anything like that, which brings up the issue of ownership and so forth. So it brings up a lot of issues and all that stuff. Now, as far as Amazon goes, we've heard rumors that Amazon was planning to launch their own cloud gaming service, though. And this week we finally got the announcement, which is basically called Amazon Luna. From an article from GameSpot, it reads that, quote, Amazon has unveiled its own cloud gaming service called Luna, which will use Amazon's web service as its backbone. The CNET reports the service is touting the ability to play anywhere, including iPhones and iPads, though. You can request early access to the service starting today. The fact that it's supporting iPhones and iPads, that one kind of surprised me, considering the struggle that Stadia and GeForce Now and even Microsoft's xCloud or Game Pass has been going through lately. So I'm a little surprised by that announcement, though. Anyway, according to it going on, it says Amazon says that at launch, Luna will be playable on PC, Mac, Amazon's own Fire TV devices, as well as iPhones and iPads through a web app. An Android version is said to be coming soon as well. This is notably different between Luna and the cloud gaming service that Microsoft and Google's xCloud Stadia, retrospectively, which has run into Apple's policy that has prevented the ability to play on ISO devices. Apparently, Apple recently has changed its rules, but Microsoft issued a statement maintaining it's still a bad experience for gamers. I would say, in terms of the new policy change that Apple has done, it's kind of a step forward, but not 100% perfect. And I kind of can see the reason why Microsoft is still not pleased with it, though. For the time being, Luna is available in the mainland of U.S. It is not available in Hawaii, Alaska, or other U.S. territories. No word if it's coming to Asia or Europe at this moment. Anyway, it says, continuing on, Amazon is offering a Luna Plus gaming channel, which gives you access to a library of games for a subscription price. During the early access period, Luna Plus will include a number of games like Resident Evil 7, Control, A Plague Tale, and A Plague Tale Innocent, among others. It will cost $6 per month, and Amazon promised the quality up to 4K with 60 frames per second for some games. You could play on 2 devices at a time with Luna Plus. Amazon also announced a partnership with Ubisoft to offer its own gaming streaming channel through Luna. This will give you access to new games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, and Immortal Phoenix Rising on release date. It did not detail the price for those games or the Ubisoft channel. Amazon said it will give at least 30 days notice before early access period ends, though. They point out what games will be available. Some of them are Panzer Dragoon, though, and the Surge 2, and also Grid and Ukulele and the Impossible Layer they mentioned, though. They also point out that basically they also showed off the controller, which basically looks just like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. In terms of capability, they point out that for PC, it requires Windows 10 with support for DirectX 11. Mac, it requires OS X 10.13 plus. Fire TV devices, Fire TV Stick, 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K, or Fire TV Cube, 2nd generation. Chrome web browser must be version 83 plus for PC and Mac, and for iPhone and iPads, it has to be Safari web browser ISO 14 though. And so basically, they have the sign up. We could request for early access. Don't know how many people will get the early access though. I believe they're okay. Yeah, and that's basically it in terms of basically the whole thing though. And I will say, I'm both interested in this and at the same time concerned about this at the moment though. It's very interesting to see what Amazon is doing and all that stuff, and a lot of the games they have for this early access does sound very interesting indeed. And the fact that it looks like they're trying to approach it is that they don't want to overpromise at launch the way Google did with Stadia though. So could Amazon Luna be a good thing? In a way, it could. But I do have some concerns. Some of them ranging from what the price point would be once this beta has ended. My other issue is the fact that the fact of the matter is that basically since this is a Netflix, does that mean some games will be removed and all that stuff, which means all that progress will just go to waste and everything. And the fact of the matter is, what about those who have like Amazon Prime and all that stuff? For those that, is there a certain deal for those who have Amazon Prime? Will Amazon Luna be part of Amazon Prime and so on? The fact that they're going to have like an Ubisoft channel, does that mean we're going to have to subscribe to like not only the $5.99 but also whatever Ubisoft is offering and all that stuff? Will there be an option on Amazon where if some of the games are available on Amazon Luna, can you buy the game and then select the Amazon Luna version and all that stuff? And given how Amazon handled their first game from Amazon Game Studio, which was their Battle Royale, I think called Cubicle or something, apologize for not saying the name correctly, that bombed and was so bad that they pulled it off Steam, or pulled it off and basically put it into closed beta as they tried to fix the problem, which means all that money they wasted was for nothing. And considering how they handled that, I have concerns about Amazon Luna. So while it sounds like a good idea, there's still some concerns about it, but I will say that if it does truly take off and it does become a success, it might be some competition for companies like Google with Stadia, which seems to still have some trouble and all that stuff. So if it does, then it does sound like it's possible Google may have to step it up a little bit more with their service and all that stuff. And maybe to Microsoft's Game Pass. I'm not saying it. We don't know if Amazon Luna will pose a direct threat to Game Pass or not, so we'll have to wait and see on that. So overall, I would say Amazon Luna, as far as I could tell, it sounds interesting. It does sound promising though, but I do have concerns about it. I do have some questions that still remain about this though. And given how they handled their first game that they launched and then later had to pull it back into closed beta, I am a little worried if they are basically going to do the same thing with Amazon Luna, although it is possible that they may have maybe trying to do a better job with this and all. Maybe they learned their lesson from the whole situation with their first game and applying that to this. So again, it sounds interesting though, but I do think it's important to take, I do think I will take a wait and see approach on Amazon Luna to see if Amazon will do a better job or handle the situation better than what what Google has done so far, at least in some areas with the Google Stadia and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Monster Hunter Rise and some of the information comes out? Are you still looking forward to getting this game though? Are you looking forward to picking it up from the Nintendo Switch? And the thoughts about it running on the RE engine? Do you think this could open the door to the possibility that other games running on RE engine could maybe make their way over to the Nintendo Switch, or do you see it more likely it's just the customized Switch version of the RE engine? What are your thoughts about Microsoft, buying Bethesda? Were you kind of surprised by this announcement, though? Do you think this will give, Xbox Series S and X a leg up into the next generation? Do you expect to see the kind of situation where the Bethesda games or those kind of games like Elder Scrolls 6 will be released on Xbox Series X and X first, and even Game Pass before making their way over to, other systems like PS5, maybe the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about Super Mario 3D All-Stars? Are you happy with the game how it is right now? Are you pleased to see it do very well in places like the UK? Have you run into any frustrated issues with Mario Sunshine? Have you run into that debug cube in Super Mario Sunshine that's been reported and all that stuff? And the discovery of these emulators, though, do you think this could be a sign that we could see other Wii or GameCube games make their way over to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about this issue with the Joy-Con drifting and the latest lawsuit, though? Do you think this lawsuit is justifiable, though? Do you think this is going to put pressure on Nintendo to address the Joy-Con drifting issue even more? And what are your thoughts about Amazon Luna? Do you think Amazon Luna has the potential to be a success? Do you think it could force, Google Stadia to step it up a little bit more, though? Or do you have concerns about it, especially after how the Amazon handled their first game where they had to pull it back into closed beta and so forth? Do you think that this one will flop in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this YouTube video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then.